Hey guys, welcome to Hunkered Down with Seth. Today I have a really good buddy of mine, somebody who has been in the Seattle pro wrestling scene for how long? A decade? More?
Well, yeah, I guess it sort of,
Yeah. He
yeah, off and on.
off and on. He uh, he was the front man to the band Blood Hag or sideman. He was in Blood Hag. I never really got specific with that. And also, he is the founder of the World Extreme Pencil Fighting Championships, WXPFL, and just an all-around interesting guy, Jake Stratton. Jake, you're on. How you
Hi,
doing?
Seth. Good man. Hi, how are you?
I'm all right.
Good to talk to you.
Yeah,
How's
I told you that I wasn't preparing anything, but
right?
immediately before we started talking, I watched Eddie Guerrero versus Jushin Thunder Liger.
Oh, fantastic. That's a good one.
Uh,
Yeah, I love Eddie. He's one of my all-time faves. Probably my favorite wrestler. I was really next to Chris Benoit. And you know how that goes. I have
yeah,
a rough time with all my favorite wrestlers are pretty much dead,
yeah.
or not wrestling anymore anyway. But yeah, that was great. That one, and then him versus I think Rey Mysterio at
Halloween
one of
Havoc.
those WCW Hog Wilds or Road Wilds or whatever they called it, the
Yeah.
dumbass biker things they did, pay-per-views.
Oh yeah, Road
That was
Wild.
great.
Yeah. I was thinking about it just because I have so much time on my hands. Jushin Thunder Liger is one of not only my personal favorites, but he is an all-time great. He belongs up there with anybody. You know.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like he became like it's one of those cases where the guy stays in the game for a long time, and so during his last few years at it, he was doing a lot of comedic stuff because everybody had like I don't know maybe he lost a step or something like that. But
Yeah.
oh my god, Liger for years was the top, and I still don't know what the dude looks like. I guess I mean I could just research and find a picture of him. But I guess he just retired this last year and did a run through Seattle, which I'm kicking myself for not going to at one of those Defy shows.
Yeah.
But I had some bullshit going on at the time and couldn't make it. Um, but but yeah, and then just to specify for what you said earlier about the wrestling thing is like I like not to make I'm not a wrestler or a promoter. I was wrestling manager, played a wrestling manager character, and then I took the helm of what we call legalized wrestling, which was just a couple of us, a group of people, me and Josh Black, who's Ronald McFondle, performed as Ronald McFondle, and then um, the he was El Phoenix, and now is Ave Rex, the luchador. We worked together to help. First, we were trying to roll back a whole bunch of regulations within the Washington State. I'm so boring. So boring. I
Yeah.
just hear myself talking. I'm so fucking boring. Anyway, we rolled back. We ended up creating a new license, rolling back some restrictive laws, and then creating a new license that allows pro wrestling training schools to throw shows and not have to kick back to the state, which helped open things up in Washington. And now we've got a booming wrestling scene.
Yeah.
The end.
Perfect. We did it.
Sorry.
No, it's great. Yeah, and you're the Kiwanis Adonis.
Yeah, the Kiwanis Adonis, evil wrestling manager and member of every fraternal organization and secret society in the world, providing me with unlimited connections for my clients,
Yeah,
my protege.
I remember seeing you in action. You had this one guy who was just this really, really big guy, and you were throwing little Debbie snack cakes into the audience, which I caught one. Yeah,
Oh, that was not me throwing the snack cakes.
that was him.
I no, I don't remember. I wouldn't have. I don't remember doing that. And I managed a couple big dudes. I don't know. There may have been little Debbie snack cakes involved. Man, I don't remember. I would imagine I would have eaten one of those.
Oh,
Uh,
I caught one and I ate mine. So
yeah, I think that might have been a gimmick for Otis the Gimp. We might have been wrestling against him. He was one of the 3-2-1 battle guys.
oh
Or maybe it was Jack the Snack. He was another. Jack the Snack Roberts was another dude who worked a food gimmick.
oh wow. What so what gimmicks have you helped create? You know, just because I know with the pencil fighting, we'll get to. Basically,
Right.
we went nuts with
What I
those.
did like outside of I mean, a couple of the gimmicks that I created for wrestling were also ended up being pencil fighters because of the
Yeah,
utility of the fact that covered the people's face, so anybody could play the character. But the main wrestler that I created was the Bird, and the Bird is if you've been around 3-2-1 battle at all, you know the Bird. He's the master of the middle finger from Matamoros, Mexico. And he is a luchador with the middle finger on his face with the wings and everything like that. And he communicates. For him, a middle finger is like aloha. It's both hello and goodbye, and it's his main form of communication. But he was played by a whole bunch of different wrestlers over the years. Were the same damn tights, and he's gone through a couple different masks. I mean, it's all the same design, but we've worn them out because so many different people ended up playing him. But then in a long run where he was played by the same guy and who's Kane Jaden on the indie circuit now when he is not the Bird, and he is great. He's a fantastic wrestler, and he was the perfect guy to play the Bird and really brought the Bird into prominence, or he made the Bird what I wanted him to be the entire time.
nice.
You know what I mean? Somebody who could actually flip and fly and like that. You know what I mean? So he could fly the Bird and flip the Bird. He could do all that stuff. And plus, he's a hella nice guy. Like one of the nicest dudes in wrestling that I've met.
Oh, nice. So let's drop a few names. Who in wrestling have you met? Big names.
Oh, big names? I don't know. I mean, like, I met Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero at, like, one of the WrestleMania meet and greet things that they did. They used to do a fan meet and greet at WrestleManias. So it's like nowadays WrestleMania is like a thing where, I mean, okay, let's say that the COVID thing was not happening. People weren't quarantined. WrestleMania now has basically, like, wherever it is, every single wrestling promotion in the world comes and also puts on a show that weekend in that area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it ends up WrestleMania weekend ends up becoming like this huge like carnival of wrestling promotions trying to put on shows, and some of them are going up against each other at different times, one side of town or whatever. But it's like every venue within a two-state area is booked for wrestling stuff. So it's just like this glut of wrestling. But at the time when WrestleMania came to Washington, it wasn't really like that. There wasn't, or people were not doing it. It could have been because of the laws in Washington State at the time. It was WrestleMania 17, I want to say, was here in Seattle. And I met a lot of wrestlers at that. Let's see.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm trying to think. A lot of guys. I did. The ones that I really count are the ones that I got to corner and jabber about legalized wrestling at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To the point where they actually nodded and listened to me politely, at least for a moment. Daniel Bryan, Jeff Cobb, Shane Strickland. That's about it.
I know. I saw that picture of Piper holding up a shirt.
Right. Yeah, that was not. That was unfortunately I didn't get to meet Piper doing that. That was Dan Lammers, who is a friend and works with 3-2-1 Battle in an organizational capacity, and also helped. He was just a big supporter for legalized wrestling, so he he has a Legalized Wrestling shirt that he got signed by all sorts of. Every time he met a wrestler, he got them to sign his Legalized Wrestling shirt. So he's probably the one to talk to about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, about Piper. But I did meet. Well, no, I have a. Well, I need a kind of a picture to go with it. My story about my autograph. I have a latex Randy Macho Man Savage mask that was autographed by Macho Man.
Nice.
And I had the opportunity to meet him. I went there with the idea to get this thing autographed by him and meet him at this event, which was the Rite Aid Health and Beauty Expo here in Seattle. And he was there. Just him and Danny Glover were doing like a thing where they were talking about fitness as you get older or whatever like that. I'm not really sure.
Wait, Danny Glover?
Yes.
I'm too old for this shit, Danny Glover.
Yes, he wasn't too old for this. I mean, maybe that's the name of his fitness program. I'm too old for this fitness with Danny Glover.
I mean, he's a great actor. But but he could literally live off that catchphrase like Mr. T pitying foos.
Yes, it's true. Well, he moved on to he and Danny Trejo are in a they have a series. There's like 3 movies where they're old badasses who beat up young guys and their friends. I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know. It's not the Expendables. It's like the lesser Expendables.
No, it's just 2 of them. The 2 guys, they were left out of the Expendables because they wouldn't take their shirts off. No, I can't remember what. It's on Netflix somewhere. Anyway, what the hell were we talking about?
Macho Man Mask.
Right. Right. Okay. So I got this Macho. Anyhow, I go to the Rite Aid Health and Beauty Expo with the Macho Man mask. My idea is I'm going to get this autographed by Macho Man. I get there early, plenty of time to spare before Macho Man is going to have his line is going to be open. I get there early, find out when he's going to be on. I'm like, okay, I got some time to kill. Walk around the Rite Aid Health and Beauty Expo. I find out that China is also there, unadvertised. She's going to be doing a book signing or a signing in like the first 10 people in line or 20 people in line get a free copy of her book, right? And I'm like, okay. And I'm basically there, and I'm like if there's 6 person in line, I'm like, cool, great. I'll do this. I'll get her autograph, and then go get Randy Savage's autograph and get out of here. This will be great. And then the China thing is delayed because I don't know, she's still asleep in her hotel or whatever. We're waiting and waiting, and I see on this television set across the WAMU giant complex area where this expo is, that the thing where Randy Savage is going to speak is beginning. And I'm like, fuck, hurry up, China. Where the hell are you? And I'm like, okay, come on, she's going to be here any minute. Just get your autograph book. I was going to give it to a friend of mine, which I did. And so she finally shows up. She's obviously hungover, and it was like meeting a cardboard cutout of China. I don't know why I bothered with that. But Randy Savage had started talking, or was in the middle of talking, by the time I finally got the autograph. So I bolted away from China and headed towards Randy Savage. He had wrapped up by the time I got to the other side of the quad, and was a line had started forming for his autograph. And I went to get in line, and the little girl in the security outfit there said, "No, I'm sorry, the line's cut off. We've got enough people. He's not doing it anymore." And I'm like, come on, I came all this way to do this. Come on, I really want to meet him. I've got this to have autographed by him. And she's like, no, I can't do it. I'm like, I will give you $20. I held a $20 bill like in her face, flappy flap, like a dick in a movie, and or a dick in real life. And she still wouldn't take it because she was afraid of losing her little security job, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was so upset about that. Anyhow, so I walk off to the side, and I'm all pissed off. And I figure, okay, well, I can just walk kind of up the line off to the side here and look at Randy Savage as he's signing. I'll get close to him or something. That's great. Maybe I can sneak in at the very last second or something.
Yeah.
And then I see this old man in the line has like just a tiny little scrap of paper. He's just decided to jump in with like a lot of people have 8x10s or other kind of wrestling paraphernalia for him to sign.
Yeah.
And he's and the line was only like 30 people. Honestly, I don't know why they decided it was so short. But I went up to the old man and I was like, hey, blah blah blah. Would you mind see if he would autograph this as well as your item? And he's like, sure, little guy. Yeah, you look upset, And I'm like, thank you, sir. And so he goes up, gets in line, and I'm standing there watching Randy Savage. And Randy Savage is looking at the mask. He's smiling. He's like, look at this fucking thing. And he autographs the thing. And then you can tell that he's asking. I can't hear what they're saying, but I can tell that he's asking the man about the mask. And the man just turns and points at me, right? And Randy Savage, his smile just disappears. He looks so fucking mad that he wants to kill me. Because I figured it out, like it rushed up on me all of a sudden after waiting in the line with China and seeing so many people who were very obviously going to just sell her autograph on eBay the next day.
Yeah.
Right? That this is what Randy Savage thought I was doing. That I had jumped on this old man and convinced him to have me sign this piece of merchandise that I was going to flip over on fucking eBay the next day. And that was my big crushing moment of like, okay, I have his autograph on a mask now, and a really sort of painful experience to go with it. I'm like, oh no, Randy Savage thinks I'm a dick, and now he's dead. He went to his grave thinking I was a dick.
Well, I'm sure Randy's watching over you, and I'm sure he sees the mask in your bedroom, and yeah.
How did you know it's in my bedroom? No. It's actually in the other room. I have it on a little mannequin head.
Yeah.
And and the head's all stuffed with. I had to fill it out with some newspaper and whatever. So every once in a while, you can see like the newspaper writing in his little the little eye sockets of the mask. Creepy.
Well. Do you remember the old the joke Owen Straw had about Randy Savage's death?
Oh no.
He said,
But here it's tasteful.
Yeah, our friend Owen Straw, great comic, look him up. He said
Yes.
Randy Savage had a heart attack and was in a car crash, because we all know Randy couldn't be stopped by one finisher.
No, I hadn't heard that one, but that's great. That's great. It's true. Yeah. Speaking of Owen and the World Extreme Pencil Fighting Federation, WXPFL, World Extreme Pencil Fighting League. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Was actually Owen's idea that he brought to me, and then we formed it. So Owen actually came up with the idea he was like, what if we do pencil fighting as a pro wrestling show? But he didn't want to do any of the planning or organization of the thing. He just wanted to play the character and have a good time. And so he brought it to me because he knew that I had experience organizing rap, putting on shows like Grudge Rock. I think I was doing Grudge Rock at the time. And so I did that. I went and called up everybody I knew that was even slightly wanted to make a fool of themselves on stage, and got together a little crew of people and came up with some characters that most of them were like parodies of classic wrestling characters or archetypes, right? Yep. So, we had Jason Goad, right, as the San Juan Island Savage.
Yep.
With the idea that, the San Juan Islands are very much the kind of like granola white guys with dreads, and so he would be a takeoff on the wild Samoan sort of crazy mad characters that have always permeated wrestling back in the day, where these guys would come in, they wouldn't speak English, they'd be so wild and out of control, only their manager could control blah blah blah. Yep. That thing, racist archetype. Then we just had him out there in cargo shorts with a grass skirt and shirtless and some face paint.
Exactly. And Owen himself was Dom the Beauty Rumble, the old-timey wrestling announcer.
That's
The
right. Yeah, he was
former.
the former champion from back in the days before the World Extreme Pencil Fighting League was the WXPFL, and became Extreme. Back in the days, it was just the WPFL, World Pencil Fighting League, and it was run by by Silas Ticonderoga, and then was taken over by his son, Silas Ticonderoga III.
Yep. Yeah,
And that was played by Corbett Cummins down the line. Corbett came in as after Owen went to New York to pursue comedy, or whatever he's doing out there now. I haven't talked to him for a bit, but Corbett came in as the co-announcer and owner of the company character.
Yeah.
And then we had the Taekwondo Robot, which is the robot program to pencil fight. And we had...
the Asshole Brothers.
Yes, the Asshole Brothers, who were just basically... The only reason we called them the Asshole Brothers is so that they didn't have to perform under their real names, but they were basically just themselves.
Yeah, Jimmy and Joey.
Jimmy and Joey Houlihan, and they were just, they are one of those like art, people who they should get an Oscar or a Tony for performing theatrically in real life.
Yeah.
Day-to-day life. But yeah, so we just let those guys loose, and they were our first tag team and first tag team champions. No, they weren't tag team champions for a long time. The Erasers, I think they were the first and held on to them quite a while. Then Swami, so the Asshole Brothers created an Asshole Brothers entourage of their spiritual guru and their lawyer Morty Manischewitz and Swami Purby. And then those were played, and those guys ended up becoming their own tag team. And Jesus Christ, it was a lot of more or less racist caricatures, but they were caricatures based on existing racist tropes and shit. We're trying to mock the tropes of wrestling, But
I'm happy to say that my character was just as racist as them. I was the Canadian.
Sure.
And
That's right, the Canadian.
And I did every Canadian stereotype I could think of.
Yep. You were from just under Moosac, Saskatchewan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
That was where you hailed from.
I came
just under Moosac.
Yeah, I was from Moosac, Saskatchewan, which is located just under Moose, Saskatchewan.
Oh, right. I forgot. You were the nicest man in pencil fighting, and you went out and pretty much introduced yourself, shook everybody's hand as you went out, and
came out to Tom Sawyer.
Came out to Tom Sawyer, which is terrible entrance music, really, honestly.
Well, I liked it just because right from the beginning, it goes right into the song. You don't have to worry about a little build-up. This is, Geddy Lee immediately singing within 3 seconds.
It's true.
So I go out.
Yeah. Yep. You don't have to wait. Yeah, you don't have to wait for the bridge to finish. Like the dun 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 dun, boom. You just go. Yeah. And who else did we have?
The Yellow Dragon.
The Yellow Dragon, which was Brandy Reddick, and it was named Yellow Dragon because she had blonde hair.
Yeah.
And we had the Graphite Cheek, which was our parody of the Iron Sheik, and played by Jason Fisher, who couldn't, his attempt to force his Boston accent to do some kind of what he remembers as a Iranian accent or whatever, or as a impersonation was pretty hilarious. He'd start off strong but go pretty Boston in the middle of it.
Yeah. Then there was what's her name? I hate myself for not remembering her name, but she was Edna Coli and
Oh right, yeah, Betsy Threatsy.
Betsy
Yeah,
Threatsy.
we had a couple. She was our Undertaker, Betsy Threatsy, who was an evil undead ballerina baby doll, like one of those Victorian dolls
Yeah.
possessed come to life, basically. And yeah, Betsy Threatsy was Patty Hinkle,
Yep,
and
Patty.
she had a ballet background and did a great job. She came up out of the audience just like a friend of a friend, a fan, and then won our audience challenge. And I was like, hey, next month you need a character, or you can be Patty, whatever you want, you know. And so she came up with Betsy Threatsy herself, came up with the costume, whole thing, and then became one of our most popular characters. Just basically the unkillable one. Plus, she was murderous on the pencil fight. He was really good at it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, she hung in there for a while, and then she also introduced the other character of Edna Coli, the lethal lunch lady, and who was and yeah, and we did some great gross out gags with her. Just basically the idea of the gross lunch lady bringing you terrible school lunch food.
Yeah.
And then her on again, off again romance with Han Sanitizer, germophobic spaceman, where Han Sanitizer, has come from the future to warn us about basically what we're dealing with right now, which may or may not have been brought about by Ed Nicolai. Ed Nicolai had her. Han Sanitizer was convinced that Ed Nicolai would bring about the end times event through disease brought about by one of her recipes in her recipe book, which she kept in her cookie jar, and that was part of something that was going to pay off eventually, but never paid off because the biggest problem with pencil fighting is that nobody got paid out of it. Really,
nope.
We barely made any money ever at the shows, so we a lot of people would just cancel on me, right? So it was really hard to keep up feuds. And the other problem was in terms of like the you couldn't really, like, a pencil fight could last 1 second or it could last, we ended up doing a whole time limit and countdown and bonus round kind of thing, because we were having these matches that just went on and on.
Yeah.
So we and then people who would sacrifice their knuckles, like one of the erasers, Tom Swanson, man, he really wanted to keep that belt. He totally put his hand in the way of, was it the one of those giant wooden pencils, and really got his knuckle cracked open.
Ooh.
But that was on him. We don't ask people to do that. But the idea is like, so you couldn't tell a dude to lose. We just had to have a feud set up that was like a wrestling feud, but that we could have a storyline play out either way. Because in a wrestling feud, you'd be able to tell, like, the promoter be able to tell the guy, okay, this match you go down, next match the other guy goes down, and then you have a match to settle it. Kind of that whole idea of plan it out. You couldn't really do that pencil fighting because even if you wanted to, you could have accidental break. You know what I mean? And it was like anytime anybody tried to fake a break or something like that, it would be really obvious to the audience, even when they were trying to. We had to really, try to pull that off, you had to do all sorts of like distraction-y things. The same guy who played Taekwondo Robot was also Magic Mark R. Devin, he's freaking hilarious. Magic Mark R was a shitty magician. Not really a wrestling prototype, although they have had shitty magicians in wrestling before. But he was he did a great job of doing like really terrible magic. And man, we had a lot of plans for him before we. I had the only problem. That's why I would have kept going on. Except for we kept having scheduling problems at the Rebar. They kept bumping me for other shows and stuff, and I to the point where I got really mad and just stopped doing it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. What were some of your favorite lines from pencil fighting? I'll give you some of my favorite lines that I remember specifically.
Sure, go ahead.
So Magic Mark R, he would ask an audience member, "Is this your card?" And they'd be like, "No,"
Yeah.
and he'd be like, "Well, it's my card. Hire me for birthday parties."
Yeah.
Then
Uh,
a couple more.
yeah.
When I was still ref, known as Smiling Seth, just because I
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
keep a straight face.
No, you couldn't. I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You just go out there and put your hand over your
exactly.
mouth.
You did this one thing with the Yellow Dragon where you did like an anime overdub, and it got to the
Oh
point
right.
where I had to run off stage just because I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, right. That's right. We were doing a whole. We did all sorts of ridiculous things with her, where we stole a deal where we just had somebody off stage doing her voice while she moved her lips. So it'd be like a badly dubbed Chinese kung fu movie.
Yeah.
And then we did another thing where anytime she tried to talk, there'd just be a gong sound. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just bad. I feel bad admitting to any of this right now. But,
Yeah. And my my third favorite, Mark, who did Hans Sanitizer,
yeah.
he played this uncle of the Asshole Brothers, and
Oh yeah.
he had a shirt that said "Legalize PCP," and I gave him a line where he was wearing one shoe, where you asked him, "Hey, looks like you lost a shoe," and he says, "No, I found one."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I mean, like, man, I wish we recorded that because there was a lot of gold
Yeah.
out there. There was a lot of stuff. I mean, most of it was freestyle. Very few, we had very few like planned bits. Just a lot of little gold out there.
Yeah. Two more that I want to bring up that were favorites of my personal. One was you were talking with Owen down the Beauty Rumble, and,
Yeah.
and Owen says, It's a tough life to be a pencil fighter. I've been divorced 13 times." And you say, "Out of 15?" And no one just goes, "Yes, I have 2 wives."
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was like I loved working with Owen. Like we had a great little back and forth. That means just that I loved doing the announcing for the show. It was a lot more freedom than with trying to do like legitimate wrestling announcing. Because you didn't have to be serious about it. I mean, you had to play it. You had to play it serious so that people would be enjoying the joke. But yeah, you can do stuff like that.
Oh, for
He
sure.
was great to talk to.
Yeah. And the last line, which I am happy to say is my own, that I'm going to bring up, is
Okay.
so Corbett, his character Salastai Ticonderoga III, was trying to unload drugs, just sell every pencil fighter drugs throughout the show. and
Right.
he got to me, the Canadian, and he was saying, "Hey, you could do this." I'm like, "Well, I don't know." And he's like, "Well, how many flapjacks could you eat?" I'm like, almost 2." He's like, "Well," so we go through this, and then finally I ask, "How much does it cost?" And he says $5,000. Then I ask him, "Could you break a toonie?" So that was pretty much the line that everybody remembers from the Canadian. Well, a couple people remember, not everybody.
Yeah.
And
God, man.
any lines that step out for you? That just
No, I'm terrible like that. Something will come to me back like at some point later after we've hung up the phone here, but I can't think of anything right now.
yeah. But man, that was a great time. I knew it was so ridiculous because people are just coming up with the craziest characters and just doing them. There was very little editing process. They're like, "Hey, I have an idea," and you're like, "Great, do it."
Yeah. I mean, we did have meetings, but a lot of times the meetings were just to kind of like flesh out some ideas. I mean, we had a lot of characters that we never ended up doing.
Yeah.
Oh God! Towards the end, we had Lewis, who played Swami Purvi. We came up with Punchy Perez.
Oh,
The
that was a great one.
yeah, which was our super tasteful comment on CTE.
Yeah.
Yeah, the concussion kid or what? I can't
Yeah.
remember what we. Um,
See,
but yeah,
there was the Anti-Science League with Neil deGrasse Holt Tyson and Bill Nye, the science denier.
that's right. Yeah.
Um,
Right. God, I totally forgot about them. That was a great run. I mean, that was we were moving away from the racist trope stuff and into some characters that were like a little bit more current.
yeah. And
uh,
oh, I had a few ideas that I didn't get around to. Like my buddy Jay, we were gonna have him be the Phantom of the Hip Opera.
oh yeah, yeah, that would have been a good. We would have. Who was Corbett's DJ Balsa Breaks?
DJ Balls.
The the EM. God, what do they call it? Electronic music.
EDM,
Dude
yeah.
who'd come out. Yeah, EDM dude who'd come out and just do the terrible breaks in between every pencil spike with his DJ flap.
Yeah. I remember when he faced the Canadian, he played the Canadian national anthem, which I, tear welled up and I stood with my hand over my heart, and turns out I got a time penalty for that, and that's how he
That's
beat me.
right. That's right. He was a sneaky bastard.
Oh, definitely. And let's see. Well, after all this is over, there's still people like I go on the news board. Literally, it's not been in for what 3 years.
Oh, Pennsylvania? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It, but there's still the pro graphiters only thing that
Yeah.
we still post on. So this could be one of those things where after this quarantine ends, if who knows, you might not.
Yeah, honestly, oh yeah, right. We should mention that there was a resurgence of interest. I almost got talked into bringing it back for a show after it got mentioned on that Shrill show, the
Oh
Lindy
yeah,
West Hulu show. They did they did you know Owen West briefly dated. I mean Owen Straw briefly dated Lindy West, and so they put her connection with him, put pencil fighting into that show, right? You saw that, right?
yeah, yeah,
And it ends up with the thing where it's like pencil fighting is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And after that came out, there was a whole bunch of people, we got a bunch of attention on our Facebook, a lot of people talking about it and sharing it and what have you.
yeah.
But
And
I couldn't get it together in time to actually really capitalize on that sort of thing. That's sort of a deal where you have to be ready to go.
yeah, and make no mistake, pencil fighting is the dumbest thing all of us have ever seen.
Yeah, for sure.
You
The way
know.
they presented it on that show was not really like. I mean, they just showed it as like this dumbass thing they were doing is in a basement kegger, and they had like fucking gloves and goggles on. It's like
No.
never ever like if you wore goggles, you were a hand sanitizer. That was the only guy who wore goggles.
Yeah. Well, I wore a hockey mask.
Right. Well, that was because to cover up your smiling.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Um,
I'm gonna just come around and bring this home.
okay.
Circling third, bring it home. What are your plans for after this quarantine ends and the?
Shit. I don't know because it's like the funny thing is that I was working and all I would do with my daydream was like, oh man, I really wish I didn't have to go into work every day and I could just stay home and write. And now I have that opportunity. So that's what I've been doing. I write in screenplays and I just have been pouring all my time and energy into that. And it's like there's genre stuff that are like I try to be funny.
Yep.
Whatever, but I don't know if they're not like comedies. in any case, they that's what I'm doing, and I don't know what I'm going to do after this. It's like if the event work doesn't pick up, I mean, I got a year's worth of unemployment. I'm probably going to go into the lucrative field of like grocery stocking or whatever else I can do around here pretty soon.
Yep.
So I don't know what, I mean, it depends on how I'm employed or if I'm employed by the time this is, done. I don't know.
Yeah, this. Well, sorry to end on a down. Let's end on a happier note.
Because I was already, basically what I'm saying is I was already kind of spinning my wheels.
Yeah.
The only thing I wanted to do was right now I kind of got my wish, so I don't really know where I'm going to go from here. I need to figure out what kind of job I want. It's probably something near me, so even when the whistle blows and everything goes back to normal, I don't have to commute all the way across town anymore. I was sick of that.
Yep.
So.
All right, so let's end on this thing. It's your top 3 all-time favorite pro wrestlers, in no particular order. So that'll be easy.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna put Andre the Giant on there because iconic dude. I don't know if he was the greatest wrestler, but one of my favorite ones. Like I believed in that whole Andre thing. I loved Andre the Giant, so say Andre the Giant. Then I'm gonna say Eddie Guerrero, just because we were talking about him earlier, and he really is one of my favorites. And I think he was the kind of guy that especially towards the second half of his career, he could do anything.
Yep.
And he was so fucking good. And another one of my faves. I mean, Randy Macho Man Savage is right up there, but I want to put everything in one era. Especially when it's a thing where it's like I don't know if I ever got to see him wrestle live or anything like that. Never got to see Andre wrestle live.
No.
But I was a big fan of Chris Jericho for a long time. And then, I guess for my third one, I'm going to have to put it on Macho Man.
Yeah.
Mostly. It was Jake the Snake Roberts, but I met him too many times in real life.
Ooh.
And that is less appealing.
Gotcha.
The shine is off of that a little bit. Still love his promos. They're the best.
Yeah, well, I'll just give you my 3, just
Okay.
to get it. So, number 1, and these guys are my all-time favorite, Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
Is that kind of 2, or is that just 1?
Yeah, well, they never had singles careers or very long singles careers.
Yeah.
So I could count them as 1.
Yep. So Legion of Doom, just unbelievable. Then I'll go Jushin Thunder Liger, number 2.
There you go.
Because, I mean, his matches with Brian Pillman in the early 90s were the ones that drew me into wrestling in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was talking about Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, all this stuff, and, I like Liger because his matches were, like, up first or second on the card, and, I would watch the shows, and there he'd be.
Right. Yeah. No. Those are was great, and then it was actually Chris Benoit and the Eddie Guerrero that brought me into WCW. Watching that at all, and then I loved. I mean, like Benoit would be in my top 3 if it wasn't like a weird taboo thing to do, But it's like I still have a closet full of Chris Benoit toys I can't sell. Nobody wants his action figure, interestingly enough.
Yeah. It's like saying OJ's your favorite football player.
Right, exactly, but it's, but that being said, I sold an O.J. Simpson trading card I found the other day on Etsy, so people still want that, but they don't want the Chris Benoit action figures.
Yeah.
But anyway, but Benoit's style of like that kind of like everything he did was really crisp, and deliberate and vicious looking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he really wanted to hurt the person who was putting when he was putting it on, and then he looked like he wasn't super tall, and looked like a guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a tough guy. So it was that great wrestler that sort of like he reminded me of. I love the British Bulldogs, and he reminded me of and it was very they were a big influence, obviously, on each other. The Dynamite Kid and Chris Benoit, or Benoit was off the Dynamite Kid. But
Yeah.
anyhow,
but still.
So what was your last one?
Well, I just want to say about Chris Benoit. Before it happened, I absolutely loved him. I thought he was the best. Now, whenever I watch a match, it's like whenever he does a diving headbutt, I just go.
Right. Yeah.
It's cringy.
You can't think about anything else. You're like there it is.
Yeah.
Was that the one?
Exactly.
Was that the.
Yeah. So my third, I'll just have to go Mick Foley.
Yeah. Mick's right up there with me. I've met him several times. He was really cool every time, and he just he brought a lot of. He was the guy who brought humor. Like for me, I mean, probably a lot of other guys have done it, but like he was my introduction to the idea that you could do like comedy within wrestling and then still get out there and do something serious too.
Yeah.
Like you could be funny 1 second and then like have these brutal matches the next.
Yeah, and if you look at his career between 1992 going back to his second iteration with WCW, starting with Sting, all the way up to his last feuds with Triple H, every guy he wrestled immediately after wrestling him was in the championship picture.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like the legitimizer.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, true.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll call that there. Thank you for watching Hunkered Down with Seth. Jake, anything you want to bring up and mention?
Thanks for. It's good to talk to somebody, and thanks for thinking of me, and I hope you're doing good down there, and I love you, man. Have a great day.
Love you too. Thanks.